So graduation. We put out a survey and the results are coming back in. So far it's about a 3-to-1 ratio of students who say they want to have graduation here. That's with about 210 votes count. I think it was, maybe it was 2-to-1. It was like 140 to 30. It was 140 to 30. It was somewhere in that vicinity. Maybe it was 170 to 40. I think it was 170 to 40. Folks want to have it here. But then of course everybody wants to be able to have more tickets. And what we should have done is said, okay, here's the two scenarios. Graduation is here, everybody gets 5 tickets, and we'll give every student the opportunity to go to the bank and purchase 1 extra ticket for a 6th ticket. And that's a district policy. We're to give out 5 free tickets, and then any tickets beyond that we sell for $5 a piece, and that's set at all 3 schools. And like I said, a maximum of 1 additional ticket a piece, and then we can say, okay, well, we know how many people want an additional ticket, we can rent the additional chairs and have them down there between the stands and the field. At East LA, it would be at East LA, which is a downside, but then, every student could buy as many additional tickets as they wanted. I wish we could expand here, but we can't expand here. And we don't want to have people sitting behind the graduation on the other side of the field, because that's just kind of tacky, I'm seeing the back of people's heads. So, we're counting the rest of the votes. I mean, it could swing where all of a sudden we get to a pocket where a lot of people want to go to East LA and have more. I know that graduation's would be on a Saturday as opposed to a Friday here. But are there any seniors in here? And are your feelings, how many of you think that being here is more of a priority than being able to get more tickets? Being here is a greater priority than getting more? How many people think getting more tickets is a priority?
I have a big family, so.
Huh?
Big family.
Yeah, big family, okay. So, those votes are supposed to get counted. We're supposed to give district an answer today. And I've got the task of wanting to try to do for the seniors what they want, but the survey, the way it's written, is giving us a mixed message. It's giving us, we want to be here, but we want more tickets. And so, we gotta figure that one out. School lunch. There are so many state requirements to the lunch we serve you. That have become more and more restrictive in terms of the amounts of salt, the amount of sugar, the amount of calories, trans fat, all of that. So school lunch is a constantly evolving thing. We have, and there's certain things, and cookies and tater tots may be in those categories, of things that no longer meet the standards set by the department, or by the state of California. I'm just giving a background, then I'll open up for discussion. Lunch used to be cooked here on campus. Now it's cooked at a centralized district kitchen and is brought to the campus, and then it's served to you guys. Things have to be kept at a certain food temperature in order to be served. I know portions are less than they were, but again, that goes with the guidelines of calories. And the thing is, there's some of you who burn a lot more calories than others of you, and these are points that we've brought up at district, and they're supposed to take back to the state to bring up. If you're in choreo, for example, and you're practicing during the day, you're burning a lot of calories. If you're on one of the athletic teams, and you've got to know, it's not the amount of calories you're burning, but it's the amount of calories that you're saving up to use for when you go to practice. You need to have that energy. And even learning, if you're really actively engaged in learning, that takes calories. So that's a little background for you on it. What are your thoughts?
Bags and they're cut up and they're really bad. They're like rotten.
So you feel like the apples are,
They should be whole and not
They should
packaged.
just be like the original, like the whole apples. Organic. It smells so bad.
What smells so bad?
The apple.
The apples have a bad smell? Are they organic apples? Are they organic? Nobody knows? Okay.
Building on what they said too, the grapes are the same thing. Sometimes they come all shriveled and sour and rotten and stuff.
Well, those are raisins.
No,
He was just saying sometimes the grapes come all shriveled inside.
No, and it's like and then they have like these weird growths on them. That
They shouldn't have things growing on them. And that should be checked. I agree. We want tater tots back. Is that what I understand? Is that part of what you're saying? And you missed the cookies?
Yes.
Okay. So I I got to find out cookies and tater tots. We hit 3 topics in one right there. Phone use. What's the comment? What's the thought on phone use? Yes?
Lunchtime is our free time, so we should be able to use it as we would like with all the like phone use, music and stuff without having to be taken away.
Yeah, and I hear you on that. And there's 3 things, or actually 2 things. First thing is 2 times. Is really one category. There have been 2 times in my life as an administrator that I've attempted to allow students have access to listening devices. So twice I've attempted to allow this, and what happens is students, unfortunately, and it's part of human nature, it's not an insult against students, it's really part of human nature. Once it starts listening and it becomes a habit, then it goes into the classroom, and then it becomes this thing occasionally between a student and a teacher of like, hey, you have to take that off, and then they don't hear, and there's issues with that. So that's one thing. Or I guess there's 3 things. Second thing is, there are situations at times where we may need to get your attention. And there have been times where I've called to a student with the headsets on, and they cannot hear me at all. So that's a concern. And the third thing is there was a situation just recently that we've been investigating on one of the social media websites where students were videotaping other students and then posting things about them, and in some cases unkind things about them. Just kind of like, let's bag on whatever student is going by. During class time, under the supervision of a teacher, if it's for research in the class, that's a whole new topic in education that I'd like to see our district adopt a policy for. And it's called BYOD, Bring Your Own Device. Dance studio. Dance studio is hot. Needs air conditioning. We've had two, and some of these things can take time. We've had 2 school board members come and look at the dance studio. Obviously, as it gets cooler, it won't be such an issue, but it will get hot again, so we need to think about that and prepare for that. There have been a couple who have come and looked at the dance studio, and there's discussions being had about what we can do to fix up the dance studio. Yes, sir. Okay.
How about open dance studio during lunchtime?
How about open the dance studio during lunchtime? I have no problem doing that as long as there's an adult supervisor. Anytime we open a facility, we need to have an adult. So like if there's an environmental club meeting in here, we don't open it unless there's an adult present who can be here and supervising. AP books, whose was that? Yes, sir.
With the new curriculum that was reformed by the College Board,
Yes.
each student can do each book.
Not only the curriculum, but the books are like very worn out. They're terrible.
Yeah. There is a process where new AP books are going to be purchased. And this has been a little bit of a sensitive subject. But there have been meetings between the AP teachers and the district office. And the district office has made a decision on which book needs to be purchased. And so I'm not sure what the timeline is on that for us getting the new books. But I know it's been discussed at length. And I'm not 100% sure if it's been resolved, but I know there have been discussions. Alhambra and Mark Keppel bought a certain book that may not be looked upon as favorably as by our campus. And so, but there's also a district, policy where everybody needs to have the same books because sometimes students transfer from one campus to another during the course of the year. So they've been working on that subject, they've been talking on that subject. We have dress code. Where's the dress code guy? Okay, you have a comment on dress code? There was a young man who wanted it on. Okay, so what's your dress code?
I wanted to know about like Halloween, costume.
Oh, okay. Halloween costumes. Halloween costumes should, number 1, follow the same basic rules as dress code during the day. Nothing too short, nothing too revealing. For the tops, we don't allow full 100% makeup or masks to be worn because we have to know that our students are our students. Okay, so it's the same basic rules as you can. You want to be Obi-Wan Kenobi, we can see as long as we can see your face under the brown robe kind of thing. So, I have an amusing Halloween story that I can't tell, but it's from Alhambra High School when I was there. Yes? Flip-flops. That we are the only one out of the 3 high schools, so I've been told, that doesn't make you wear closed-toed shoes. There's no flip-flops at Alhambra or Keppel allowed, and I've been told that both of those schools require closed-toed shoes as well. Are they? Okay. Well, they're not supposed to be. That's what I was told. I know that Mr. Navarro, when he was principal at Mark Keppel, instituted a no open-toed shoes policy for students. The reason why we have no flip-flops is for your safety. There was a student when I was at Alhambra High School who was coming down the stairs during a fire drill evacuation, and she was wearing flip-flops, and her foot came out of her flip-flop, and she fell. She hit her knee on the corner of the stair, and she tore her kneecap. Okay, and it's a safety issue. You know, and even it doesn't allow much. Even some of the sandals we allow that are very thin, even though they have a little thin strap in the back, they don't really give much protection if you were to hit a piece of metal or something like that. But yeah, flip-flops are just something, I think it's also against there's district dress code policy too. But you got to have a strap that attaches to the back of your foot. It's just a safety issue. You know, shorts need to be an appropriate length, okay? And the times we see, why? Because we want your minds on display. We want your minds to be the thing on display. And let me tell you, there are times when a girl's shorts are so short that it reveals a certain curvature in the back, you know, that not everything is covered. And it's not okay at school. We want the focus in class being on what's being taught too. You know, I know it's nice to have our classmates look at us and see us and appreciate us, and I get that. But when we're in school, it's just like, you know, the district is coming out with a dress code for teachers.
How about instead of telling us not to wear shorts, but tell others not to look at us and over-sexualize our legs?
Well, you know, let me respond.
That's radical.
You know, I don't think any adults are doing that. Nobody's over-sexualizing a student when they look at them, you know. But it's having to be sensitive to the educational environment at the school. And you know, just like the language we use, there's different times where we use different language. Like sometimes I'll have to stop and say to a student here, hey, that's not appropriate language to use at school because this is a place of education. And we have to treat it a little more like a business, you know. If you're at work, you know, if you're working in a place that serves the public, you're not going to be dropping F-bombs back and forth, for example. But if you're driving with your friends in the car, or you're having a private conversation that nobody around you is listening to, you're going to talk how you want. Nobody should judge you for that.